Hello, this is Soundout here, and today we'll be taking a look at the Power Rangers Dino Supercharged Zords Wave 1. Now, these are the auxiliary Zords, the single Zord line, which for Power Rangers Dino Charge included the Raptor Zord, the Pakazord, the Pakazord, and the Ammonite Zord. With the Pakazord and the Ammonite Zord being in their correct gray and green colors, but were nearly impossible to find. They only got a couple actual in-store sightings, and they sold out online pretty quickly for the shops that actually stocked them. Therefore, I did not own those two, and I could never get a hold of them. So instead, we have two repaint Zords and two brand new Zords. Now, we have a Purple Pachy Zord, which is going to be my Pakazord unless the gray one gets reissued, which I hope Bandai is planning. We have a blue Ammonite Zord. We have the brand new Ankylo Zord that actually appeared really early on in Dino Charge, but didn't come out till the Dino Supercharged toy line, probably because the Aqua Ranger figures aren't coming out until this year. And the Deinosuchus Zord, which is based on the Deinosuchus Charger for Dino Armor X, and the Ammonite Charger, which is based on Dino Hypno Charger. So you have these two Zords which aren't in the show, and two Zords that are. It's just this one's not in the correct colors. But without further ado, I do want to take a look at the two older Zords, since I never did review the original colors, since I never owned them. And then I want to talk about the two new Zords. So let's take a look. So taking a look at the Purple Pachy Zord first, this is a weird color scheme. And it's because it doesn't reflect anything in the show itself, but is actually a homage to a Power Rangers Dino Thunder Zord, the Zord, based on the same dinosaur, and now it has the same colors. As you can see, the yellow to go with the gold, and the purple matches the purple, and the silver. So it's a very nice color match, with the eyes being the same color and everything. It's really cool to see, and it's a nice thing. Unfortunately, it does kind of rub people the wrong way in two different methods. First of all, this is the most common Pakazord out there, is the purple repaint, not the gray version that matches the show. Also, the Zord was never released in the United States during Power Rangers Dino Charge, and some fans might see the Purple Pakazord as trying to make up for the lack of the Zord in America, which it really doesn't. This thing was kind of hard to get because it was a Japanese-only release. It also had a Hong Kong release years later, but never an American release. So it's kind of an odd case. Also, I would have liked to see the claws here painted gold to match the boxing gloves. But moving the Zord out of the way, let's talk about the Pakazord. Now, the thing is that the purple color will also match the Plesio Charge Megazord, which we'll take a look at the next review. But, you know, it's kind of weird that they didn't just reissue the gray one, knowing the distribution problems. And for whatever reason, this is what we have. But it's not bad. In fact, I do like the colors. They are quite vibrant. Articulation-wise, it is the same as the Parrot and Raptor Zords. The legs move here, the knees bend here, the arms move here, and the elbows bend there. That's pretty much all you're going to get with articulation-wise. Other than that, it's really just the same mold as the Pakazord with a new head and a new tailpiece. But speaking of the new tailpiece, it is the Dino Charger function. As usual, you open up the mouth of the Zord, and you can see there's the charger slot. Now what's interesting is this entire wave comes with fossil chargers instead of the regular ones. These are all the fossil versions, I guess to promote the power packs more. Fortunately, the Pakka Power Pack has not been re-released, and it's kind of hard to get, and the gray Pakazord as well is hard to find. But overall, you can see it does have a nice little animation of a skeleton coming to life. So when you insert the Dino Charger into here, you get this neat little gimmick of the wrecking ball flying forward. So it pops off its little head here, and it flies back, and naturally you can't close the mouth, but you can see it's got a hard hat there. You can also extend this out, so that's a swinging flail, which is pretty neat overall, I gotta say. But other than that, the Pakazord does not do anything else on its own, and that's been pretty much the downside to these individual Zords. They have one little gimmick. Other than that, they're just a large dinosaur. But of course, it does have combination functionality with the Deluxe Megazords. So let's see how that looks. So naturally, to combine the Pakazord with the Dino Charge Megazord, all you need to do is fold these up, much like the Parrot and Raptor Zords. Nothing really groundbreaking here. But when you do all that, and extend this out for good measure, you can just attach the Zord straight on to the arm of the Dino Charge Megazord, like that. But now you got the Dino Charge Megazord Stegopaka formation, or Stegopaka formation. Anyways, it's pretty neat because you do get this neat little flail. It's very awkward because it just kind of, the chain part is just solid, so it just kind of flails out here. And this is supposed to stay like this to be a wrecking ball, but it keeps flopping back. Not really anything you can do about it either. But overall, neat little combination. Cool arm function, I guess, and it's different than boxing glove arm, so there you go. So the Purple Pakazord overall, I gotta say, is kind of a weird situation, because I don't really hate the fact it's purple. In fact, when we get to the Plesio Charge Megazord in the next Power Rangers review, you'll see why it kind of works. But it is really weird not having the gray one. I really hope that Bandai has plans to re-release the gray Pakazord soon. And until then, I will settle with the purple one. I really hope a reissue for the original is on the way, but if this is the only Pakazord I have, I'm going to just deal with it, because the regular colored one released during Dino Charge just did not reach the distribution it should have. But overall, the Pakazord is actually quite fun. Neat little wrecking ball gimmick, too. So here is the blue Ammonite Zord. The only reason I can think for this thing to be blue is Dimetro Zord reference, maybe? Yeah, I kind of see it, but at the same time, it's just a blue Ammonite. Color differences not really faze me here. I'm not too upset about it. It's not an in-show use Zord. I picked it up for fun, and it has turned out to be something kind of neat. It comes with a fossilized Ammonite charger, naturally. And the Ammonite Zord features no articulation whatsoever. It is just this. And it has wheels on the bottom, plus wicked cool tank treads. So it just kind of rolls, but has no other articulation. For its Dino Charger gimmick, though, it's probably one of the more interesting ones, as you insert the charger into here, like that, fold down this little ramp piece, and you push the side pieces here, and you get a disc launching gimmick, where you get this giant tire thing, and it spins, and it rolls, and that's about it. It's a more dynamic gimmick than the other Zords, but it's still not really that engaging. I feel like Bandai's biggest flaw with their Zord line and why it probably isn't selling too well is because they don't do a whole lot for 17 bucks. They really are just there to be Zords that connect with Megazords, which doesn't always work in the American market. Speaking of connecting with Zords, the Ammonite does combine with Zords. So the first thing you want to do is you actually want to activate the gimmick for the Ammonite Zord, because the entire disc must be removed in order for the arm combination to work. That involves folding down this peg here, pushing that back in, and attaching this Zord Builder port there, so you actually get what is a rotatable cannon. Which is pretty neat. And, naturally, it plugs right on to the Dino Charge Megazord and looks absolutely ridiculous, but it's cool because it's kind of a cannon arm thing. Other than that, not really the best combination, but still kind of ridiculous and fun for being ridiculous. The Ammonite Zord is a non-show Zord. I shouldn't care about it as much, but hey, I thought it was actually pretty fun, and the spinning giant arm cannon is a neat idea. It just could use some tweaking and execution. Overall, it's kind of neat to see other Zords for the line that don't exist in the show, but as a whole, I'd say Ammonite Zord's probably my least favorite of the two non-show Zords we've gotten so far. But in the end, it's not a bad toy. I don't mind it in blue, because show accuracy doesn't need to exist, because it doesn't exist in the show, and I like the color blue. Ammonite Zord, it's okay. Now we have the Ankylo Zord finally arriving to the toy line after its debut in the early part of Power Rangers Dino Charge. This guy debuted before the Gold Ranger. When they found out the Aqua Energem was active, they just couldn't figure out where it was. They were able to access the Ankylo Zord, and it's been in the show for a while, and it's really surprising they waited this long to release it, especially when another wave between the Para wave and the Paka wave might have helped distribution a little bit. But overall, I'm really glad to see the Ankylo Zord finally appear. Here is its fossilized charger, naturally matching the other fossilized chargers in the wave. As you can see, it looks really, really cool. But I was able to find the Ankylo Power Pack, and that means we do have the regular shiny Show Accurate charger, which is the one I will be using from here on out. So, without further ado, let's take a look at Ankylo Zord. He is retooled off of the Stego and Tricera mold, so that means he's got 4 little legs that move, and that's about it. And you can see he's got a giant back piece. It actually does detach, which is a new functionality the Japanese version did not have, and allows you to use it as a shield with the Dinoicus Megazord. So that's kind of neat. It does add a little bit more play there. Now, opening its mouth, you can see it's got the charger slot. Let's insert the charger and activate the gimmick. And as you can see, all it does is throw the hammer out. And that's pretty much it. That's all there is to the Ankylo Zord, but it is a neat little dynamic gimmick of a tail flipping out like that, which is pretty fun. So combining the Ankylo Zord is quite simple. All you gotta do is fold the 2 leg sets together, have the hammer out, open up his mouth, make sure the charger's inserted for accuracy's sake, and plug it on here for the Ankylo Tricera formation. So that's pretty neat. Really cool arm combination function. I definitely think it is a good one. And just to show off the functionality here, you can use this as a giant shield for, you know, just some extra play, I guess. Other than that, though, there is another combination that the Ankylo Zord is specifically designed to go with, and that is a combination with the Pakazord. So, plug this on here, and we get the Dinoicus Megazord Ankylo Packa formation. When it was a gray arm, it was kind of a weird balance, but here you have blue and purple, which is based on blue. So it's actually kind of a neat color match, to be honest. But it would have been nice to have it with the gray Pakazord, but there we go, another combination in the show that we can actually pull off now that the Ankylo Zord has been released. I think the Ankylo Zord is probably my favorite of the wave. I think his small size but powerful weapon is really cool, plus having the option to display the weapon in 2 different modes is really neat. I never would have expected it to have a alternate mode of shield. That was a neat little bonus. I like when Bandai of America does add functionality to the Zords, because sometimes Bandai of Japan doesn't really put a lot into what their mecha does, because they know it'll sell anyways. So it's neat to see an extra gimmick, and I really like the Ankylo Zord's design, and I like the color blue that it has. It's a very nice color, and it does work well with the Dinoicus Megazord. Really happy with the Ankylo Zord. Here's the Deinosuchus Zord. This is based on the Dino Armor X Charger, which you can see in its fossilized form here. It was released in a power pack earlier in the line. So you have that, but we're just going to put that aside because I do have the regular one from the Deinosuchus power pack. So we shall swap that in now. Now the Deinosuchus Zord is probably actually one of my favorite Zords in the line as a whole because it's the most unique. The Ammonite Zord's kind of boring, despite being a unique mold, while the Deinosuchus Zord is really cool. As you can see, the 4 legs there are non-articulated, which kind of sucks, but oh well. It looks really cool though, and it does have a neat rolling gimmick. As you see, you got wheels there and a geared wheel here, which means when you roll him, his mouth opens and closes, which is really, really fun, because it looks like he's eating things as he's moving along. And that's a really fun gimmick. Also what's neat is that you open up his mouth to put the Dino Charger in, and it activates this tail, which becomes another set of claws, which is kind of crazy. Also what's kind of crazy is you just noticed the charger fits in his mouth, and the mouth closes. None of the other smaller Zords can do this, so it's very distinctive for that reason, is that he actually can hold his charger within him. And as you can see, when you can't activate with a little slider lever, you just have to push this in to close the tail down. But that is not all the Deinosuchus Zord does. He combines in a very unique fashion with the Dinoicus Megazord. So the other auxiliary Zords, they all combine to become one arm of the Dinoicus Megazord, while the Deinosuchus Zord actually becomes 2. He splits in half like this, and you fold up this set of pegs here, And now you got 2 crocodile arms. Pretty much hard to put in with these clips falling in, but you get 2 giant clawed hands, which is actually pretty unique and a neat combination function. Plus, with them being claws and actual hands, the arms don't look too short despite coming from one Zord. Really cool. I do think this is a great functionality and is a neat combination that's quite unique to the auxiliary Zords. Overall, Deinosuchus Zord is really fun and probably my favorite of the two between him and the Ammonite. I really like it. The clawed gimmick works really well. I love that you can actually store the charger in his mouth, plus the moving mouth gimmick is a neat thing. It's a neat toy. I love that it becomes 2 arms and not just 1, and I'm really happy it got made. It's really cool. Probably my second favorite of the wave, and I actually recommend it. I would put a recommendation. If you're only collecting show-accurate Zords, but you want to just pick up something fun, this is definitely something fun to get. So naturally, we have new Dino Chargers. Let's use them, the Dino Charge Morpher. Starting with the Ankylo Charger, a highly anticipated Ranger Charger. And then the Pachy Charger, which is another Ranger Charger. And then the Dino Armor X Charger, which is a power-up charger.
Dino Armor X Charger. Engage. Energize. Unleash the power. Dinoicus.
And the Dino Hypno Charger, which really isn't significant at all. And that's pretty much all there is to the Chargers. Overall, Power Rangers Dino Supercharged Zord line is off to a great start. We got to have reissues of the previous wave's Zords, plus new Zords. While I would have liked the reissues to be just straight reissues instead of repaints, I think that it does work, and it's neat that they're referencing Dino Thunder. Overall, really happy with this first wave, and that's pretty much it. I'm not planning to pick up the green Raptor or the red Pakazords, which are part of Wave 2, and I'm not really sure what else might come out, considering these two are the last of the, in-show auxiliary Zords. Hoping a Gray Pachy does get re-released in the third wave, maybe with a couple more non-show Zords. It'd be really cool to see, like, the Triceratops get repainted into, the Styracosaurus. Wouldn't be too hard to do, and I think it'd be really neat. But until then, really happy overall with this wave, glad to finally have a Pakazord, really glad to finally have the Ankylo Zord, and overall, definitely fun pickups. Overall, recommended Zords, but I've already said which are my favorites and which I recommend most, and it's pretty much up to you to decide, do you want non-show accurate Zords? And if you don't, it leaves you only with 2, which saves the budget. So anyways, stay tuned for the next Soundout review, which will be the Plesio Charge Megazord. Until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.